All right, so I know that if I take the console, if I take the seats out, I can get this bracket down here. All four of those disconnect from the seat post and the whole console can come out. But I suspect that there's these screws in here. Might let me take part of the console apart. So I've been cleaning it out, and you can see there's a lot of junk down in there. Gotta clean that out. There's also screws underneath this part here. There's several, and I'm wondering if I can disassemble it. The idea is I want to be able to get the console out with the seat still in, so that it's a lot easier to use my daily driver while I'm also working on a project. All right, so there's also those two screws right there, and is that a screw? No, it's not a screw. So there's those two. I think those are the last two. These hold on the back drink holder. So let me get those two out and see what happens. All right, so after removing those two screws and then taking out the rear drink holder, we've got a lot of movement. And also this back panel, this whole back panel is loose. So we'll proceed in that direction. This panel popped off here, which allows access to those screws. I don't think they're holding anything on. There's one there, one there. What I'm looking at, this is the inside, this is the outside of the cavity under the armrest. And I've got to get up in here and look down in there, see what I can figure out. There may be a screw right there. Is that a screw? Can y'all tell what that is? I can't tell. But I got to dig up in here and see what I can find as far as a screw back here. All right, taking those top two screws off will allow me to get this panel off back here and get a much better view. And I see some screw action going on in here. So now that I believe is the yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the factory amplifier. And it can stay because I'm trying to remove the unit from the top of it so you can kind of see what's moving and what's not moving. So what we're wanting to do is take this part off and leave the bottom part. So we got to figure out what's connecting the whole thing here to the amplifier or to the area around it. I know the lighting in here sucks. All right, so there's a thing right here where my fingers are. I want to try to give you guys a view of it. It's that black thing right there. That thing is, that black thing needs to come out of there. If you look when I push up on this, see it's connected to what's going on here. So I'm trying to separate those, and that is the only thing I can tell that's holding that there. But it might be, let me get a closer look under here. It might be just some kind of a thing to steer it in the right direction, but there is a metal clip right there, though it's not moving. So anyway, let's see what else we can do. Yeah, that black thing is the thing that guides it to the right spot. All right, guys, we managed to persuade this thing to leave its home and go into project land. And it did require the use of that gray bar right there. All right, so under here is this is the rear controls for the entertainment and the temperature and plug for charging, and this underneath here is the amplifier for the whole vehicle, the factory amplifier. And then this is a boogered up wiring harness, and that goes to the amplifier from everything else. This one goes to the amplifier right here. This one comes from the head unit to go to the amplifier. This right here is seat bag control, or your airbag controller. These two plugs right here, this white one and this white one, those two yellow plugs have to come out if you're going to change this thing out. But you don't want to take this out or unplug it while you've had the power to the vehicle. That's bad. So forward to that, in this dirty mess, this is the little factory subwoofer, and I'm going to get it out. We're going to have a look at it. Alright guys, so this is what's underneath there. This one's blown, by the way. There's not very much weight to that. Definitely got some abrasion going on. But that's what sits up under there, this little guy. And apparently your dad's stereo blows. All right, so got the driver out. Honestly, it's not terrible. It won't handle 500 watts. I can assure you that. That's 421.10. So yeah, that's really close to my sister's birthday. That's funny. So here's an interesting observation. This is a dual voice coil subwoofer. It seems a bit odd for the application. It must be a universal thing. I don't know what the ohm load is. I will find out though. But a rich bass woofer. Yeah. There's the numbers, guys. If y'all are numbers, you know, get that number going on right there. You can find out what's up. Made in Mexico. All right, so having a look at the enclosure here, which we do find interesting. It is a sealed enclosure that is chambered internally. It's chambered exactly the way it is externally here. I've dug around with my hand. There might be almost a cubic foot of airspace in here. If this was large enough to fit a 8-inch driver, I might even be considering using this. But don't worry, guys. I am going to hook up. I want to put a 6.5 in here, and I'm going to hook it up to my channel, my sub channel up front, and I'm going to test putting a real. I'm saying this isn't bad, but putting a genuine power handling little woofer in here and see what it's capable of. What's funny is there's a lot. I mean, you could put a pretty significant 6.5-inch woofer in there. I don't know that a 6.5 will fit, but we're going to find out. All right, to answer the question, no, 6.5 woofer does not fit in there. But so I have these lined up as close as I can get them centered, just to give you an idea of the difference in the size. The baskets look the same. This is actually an oversized, slightly oversized 6.5-inch basket, but the holes don't line up either. This is like a 6 maybe instead of 6.5, and also it's got this funky shape to it. So yeah, if you're going to use anything besides a Bose driver in there, you're going to have to do some serious modifications. You could probably make a plate to fit this, a ring to fit this, an adapter, and run like a 5.5, 5 3/4 in here, but it's not ideal. So there's that. So yeah, no, this won't fit. It just won't fit at all. Which brings us to the reason why we're here. What will fit in that hole? And we're going to try this guy. I've also got a couple other prospective clients, but we're going to see who we can move into that apartment right there. All right, so I'm sure some of you guys are screaming obscenities at me right now, but this will fit under there with the sub firing up, and the port is right here where my fingers are. Port's on this side, sub up, and it will fit in that spot. Of course, it would also go sub down, and I don't know if there's enough room for enough spacers to, looks like it might be. So if you guys have a Ground Zero thin box like this for a 6.5, with sub or without, it will fit in here. And I already know that it fits just inside, side to side of the console. But the first thing I wanted to do is make sure that it would actually go in here and how far it would go. And it goes all the way up to the this thing, air conditioner duct. And if it didn't hit that, it could actually go further some more. So that thing ends like right in there. So theoretically it could go up a little more. But having said that, the cup holders are right about here. So all we'll be sacrificing is some of that tray. I think we could work with this. Now the other thing is, when I get done, I've got to make sure that this is serviceable. I want to be able to get the subwoofer out and change it, which is why, another reason why I wanted to get the console out with the seat still in, because I need to be able to get this out without taking the whole interior apart to change the subwoofer if it's blown, or if I'm dealing with me, you know, I'm constantly doing new things, and so having the ability to switch that subwoofer out without disassembling the entire front of the vehicle is a big plus. So the other thing I want to do is figure out what I don't need down here, clean it up, get rid of stuff I don't need, and then we'll work on figuring out how to modify the console to fit around this box. But before I do that, I'm going to get in here and listen to it a little bit right in that spot, because I want to make sure that I'm ready to get married to that before I continue on getting everything situated so that it'll work around that. That makes sense? I want to take the old girl to the hotel before we tie the knot. Alright, after listening to some Lionel Richie, I have determined this panel underneath here is very prone to vibration. It isn't really noisy, but it's definitely getting some of the resonation. So what I'll need to do is take this whole thing out and do an excessive amount of sound deadening on that panel down there. The other option is to flip the sub upside down, So I'm going to try that and see how that affects the sound. Now, in case you guys are wondering, I am setting the sub box on those bolts up there, so it's getting picked up about this much off the front, and the back there's a little bit of a lip right here, so it's not sitting on the floor, but it's definitely going to come into contact. I'd have to do some slight lifts in the back to get it up high enough to where it doesn't come into contact, but it should be okay for what I'm going to do right now. So I'm going to check it out. So right now, this is just this little sub and each A-pillar. The doors aren't playing and the rear subs aren't playing. Just the 8-inch and the A-pillars, the little threes. And I got them crossed over at 500 hertz down, or 500 hertz and up. This guy I've got temporarily crossed over at 500 hertz down to 20. So it's really busy, playing way outside of its perimeters, but
you're not okay. And tell me what's wrong and why you never said you felt that way.
all right. So we got the amplifier that's in here out of here. Got that wiring harness and all that out of here. I got this other wiring harness that I got to just run back and tuck because it's the factory leading out of this radio. I may pull it too, or tear it apart and get it out of here. All that I have left that's going to stay, obviously, is the airbag controller, and everything else is going to go except this bracket here, which I'm going to leave in here, because these 4 bolts here are how I'll be attaching the console back in to where it'll be removable without removing the seats. So the console will just be attached to here, 4 bolts inside, and she'll come right out. And yeah, a lot of work to do, but we're going somewhere. All right, took that out and got sound deadener and foam packed into all of the crevasses between different bits in there. So this thing should be pretty dead. Not any rattles going on, especially down here where I was worried about it. Got this guy remounted down good and solid, and that's going to give me my 4 mounting points. And I pulled a lot of the wire out of there. Got a lot of that done, got rid of that big huge cable, and I've got a lot more left to do. I've still got to make sure this fits. I've got to trim the console to fit around this sub, so I got to figure this out. I'm going to have to trim back the top part and probably trim out trim out the cubby hole. So the cubby hole used to sit right about here, and so it's going to have to get trimmed out, and I'm going to have to figure out a way to manufacture a shallower portion there, and then I should have room for my cup holders to still sit. That door's about to shut on my leg. I should have room for the cup holders to still sit in here. I just got to do the rest of the fitment. I got this ready, got the wiring done, got the sound deadening done, got the radio and everything put back in. And so now we just got to do some custom fitting to make all this work. But this thing sounds good. So I got the cubby here, and I know that it fits right about in that area. Not exactly, but so it's not going to be an issue as far as it getting trimmed around the subwoofer. But as you can see, it's going to be a few inches have to get trimmed out of that corner. So what will basically have to happen is this wall will have to go over to about here somewhere, and then come down and this way and back up over, and that corner will all come out. The sub box will come into the space some, and I'll have to devise a piece that goes from here down to wrap around the sub. And I'm also probably going to be incorporating some switches and gauges. So I've got this guy here. I may end up redoing this and incorporating some of the switches and gauges and stuff in this area, which will end up being like right in here. So all of that'll be behind there. I'll have to trim back just past this hole. I'm going to have to trim out that whole top piece, which is no big deal, but I got to figure out exactly where it gets trimmed. And then to change out the sub, I'll pull 4 screws out, pull the console out, and then I can pull the box out. So far we're looking good. Okay, so this piece up here, from here up, is detachable from the rest. And as you guys saw, this is where the edge of the radio part comes down to, right in this area. So just a little bit back from that, this area here will have to be trimmed out for the sub, but I want to get it in there to look at it. Now what's interesting is this will be trimmed up too. I don't really need these pieces, so I'm going to detach them to make the whole fitment thing go easier. So for anyone who wants to know how these come off, you pry out on them, you pop these 2 clips, and so I can put my fingers in there and do this with one hand. And then once you do that, this tab right here slides out. So this slides right out of there. So I don't know about this. I hadn't measured it out there yet, but this part here is the internal piece. This is where the tray would be sitting down in this. So this will have to get cut out, probably, depending on how far into the sub box it comes, but this will get removed as much as the tray does. However, once I get done with all this, I could actually order a different factory tray and put it in here, and it would all look unaltered. So that's cool. So it could go back to a stock-ish situation, at least appear and function as stock. Though it never will, it could. And I could also order a new tray and a more suitable tray for the modification that I'm making as well. One with the 2 doors on it, the cup holder door and then the little tray door, and I could just delete the actual tray under that tray door and make it just a solid piece and have the cup holder area right where that hole is still be functional. So, you know what's funny is the airbag deployment computer is located directly under your cup holders. Okay, good news. The console fits around the sub box with about a 1/4 inch to spare on each side, so it's pretty snug. In fact, once I get it in here, I think I'll be able to mate the 2 together with like some deadener on the side of the console, so that whenever it's snug, it literally fits nice and tight against the box. So the other end of that is sliding it under here is kind of tricky. So can't really do this on camera because I need both hands, and it's bird dog even then. But it's got to go under a bit more. This whole section right here has to disappear underneath this, so we got to go up under there, you know, another 5 inches or so. So that gives you an idea. And again, like I said, this edge right here is right up in this area right here. So we're basically going to be trimming, let me look here, trying to sort this out. yeah, we're basically, because that's where the subwoofer is right at the edge. So we're basically going to be trimming. Almost all of this is going to go away. This is going to be, I may end up just doing that right now, because it's got to come all the way back. Probably I'll run it back here, and then probably up a 1/4 inch or so away from this edge to leave some structure here, and then I'll creep up on it until I get it to fitting pretty good. But this down here has also got to go. So we already know that I'm essentially going to take out this part. I'm going to take out this whole end section. I'm going to leave this ridge right here and take out this section. So this section's going to go, and then this down underneath this lip here, this whole bottom piece is going to go. I actually may be able to just take that off and do some work, but that's what has to happen. We got to move this line to here, and then we got to move this whole thing out so we have room for the box to come back some. So we're getting there. Just got to do some more testing and fitting, and then some trimming. All right, we got these two pieces separated, and I need to make some cuts. Now, what would be ideal to do these cuts would be Dremel with a whole assortment of bits, but I don't have that. What I have is an old jigsaw, so we're going to get her done. All right. Now I need to go do a test fit of this, and we'll see how that goes. All right, yeah. Still got to trim these corners out on both sides so the box can slide up in here. All right, guys. So the inner console is sitting on its holes in its position. You see the threads down there. She's sitting right where she goes, and the sub is in here, so we're in good shape. Right now I'm looking at fitment, and so far we're in pretty good shape. And I just slid the sucker in there, and it's up against that roll, so we're probably going to need to trim some of this corner back, but it does fit in here, and we know where the edge is. It's up there. Just coming back. Just need to. This will actually move a little bit, but it is sitting on both sides of the enclosure. It's fitted. The enclosure's in place. The console's in place. And now I just got to get the other part trimmed. I got to finish that up. I don't want that close to the sub, so I'll be doing some adjustments there. And then I'll get my drill and my step bit and use that to grind away at areas that need a little bit more love. But this is a big step. The console and the subwoofer are sharing the same space. Awesome. So now that I have the piece put back in where it goes, the next part of the puzzle is this tray right here. And as you can see, it's almost half of the tray is going to be going away, and we're going to trim it up as high as we can and leave the lip right here so that it can sit on that, and also screw into these holes here and clamp down. And the front of the tray will still be here, but it'll be obviously higher so it can come across, and that'll also tie the sides together whenever I screw that in. And then the back, we'll let that cubby go down to its normal spot, which will be somewhere down here, I assume, and that'll allow for the cup holders to still come in here. Then we'll just have to figure out a way to finish off this hole, which will be it'll come out this way and then go down, you know, and we'll figure out a way to finish that off. And then, of course, once I get that finished, the rest of it is just reassembly, because all the fabrication will be done. It's just putting her all back together. Now, I could use some kind of screen right there. I'm not sure yet, guys. So probably won't be finishing that part right away. So if you guys will put it in the comments what you think I should do about that section that I'm going to have to cut out to fit that box, what you think would look good there. I'd love to hear your input. All right, so cut my box here, and not too bad for a jigsaw, you know, get her done. This is fitting nicely and staying separated, though it's got these little edges under here that I may end up grinding some of those off just in case contact happens. I'll show you what I mean here if I can see. I don't know if you guys will be able to see the edges, but there's like little fins and stuff. I may end up grinding those down to add some extra insurance. But I also have another idea too, which I thought about it ahead of time. This is a piece that I cut off of there, and I could, in theory, this ain't going to be easy with one hand, but somehow or another cut this down and make it be the piece to fill the hole in. But I would have to trim. I'd have to trim some of this out to allow for the box here. I could have left more. I just cut enough. I cut it all the way up until about 1/8 of an inch lip around here, just enough to add some rigidity to these parts. So I could trim this out and theoretically use it to make this piece and fit it in there, and then you know, yeah, reconstruct the thing, you know. So there's that. There you go.